on. Okay, welcome everybody. So this is Premier Chess Adult Intermediate Fall 2020 class, week 7. So we're going to be analyzing a game between Aaron Nimzovich and Akiba Rubenstein from 1929, Dresden. And it's going to be on the topic of planning on a grand scale, how to formulate a plan and how to analyze a position that is not so straightforward. So who is Aaron Nimzovich? He was Latvian-born Danish chess player and writer, foremost figure amongst the hypermoderns, wrote a very influential book on chess theory. My System, very excellent book, was actually the prescribed reading material by many of the world champions that succeeded him, that followed him. In the late 1920s, he was one of the best chess players in the world. The height of Nimzovich's career was late 1920s and early 30s. Chess Metrics places him as the third best player in the world, behind Alexander Alekhine, Jose Raul Capablanca. He's considered one of the most important players and writers in chess history. His works influenced Sevilla Tartakower, Richard Reddy, Akiba Rubenstein, Bent Larsen, Tigran Petrosian, among others. All right, cool. All right, so let's get started on this game. This game, it started off very tamely with a symmetrical English. Okay, c4, c5, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, and here's where it departs. I'm sure I'm sure I've told you guys how much I detest symmetrical positions, right? I might have told you guys that. I avoid them like the plague. Yeah, so I'm very happy when we depart symmetrical positions. So knight c3, d5. Rubenstein departs from the symmetrical position, takes e4. Okay, creating a little bit of a hole on d3. Not such a big deal yet. Knight b4, bishop c4. So let me ask you guys a question before I go on. Do you think that knight d3 check is a good move or a strong move? What do you guys think?
If you would like to get the bishop pair, yes.
Yeah, so knight takes, yeah, you're pretty much forced to capture, take, and now best move probably would be queen e2. And if he does capture, probably the best move would be take with the king. And this is a pretty nice position for white. You know, look at look at black, right? He's got no developed pieces. White has 2 developed knights, and he's ready to get his rook into the game. So this would definitely benefit white, that continuation. So yeah,
He can't really build up an attack, right? There's no queen.
yeah, he
He
can't really
only
build up.
has.
He can't really build up an attack. True, but it's going to take some time developing these pieces, and you know,
Okay.
we're going to open up the position like this and bring the bishop. So, you know, it might end up with still being an advantageous to white. So not really recommended is to do knight d3. So Rubenstein does not do knight d3. He goes e6. Nimzovich castles knight 8 to c6, d3. Now locking down d3 square, removing it from the knight. Knight d4. Okay, jumping in on the hole. Knight takes, he takes. Knight e2. A6. Okay, knight g3. Pretty standard, pretty straightforward. Bishop d6. Okay. So what do you think is a good move? I'm just gonna, before I go on, what do you think here is a good move for white? What would you do in this position?
Can you check the king and then take the knight that's on b4? Oh, never mind, the bishop.
Yeah. No. What do you guys think?
Does f4 work, or is that too much opening of the king?
I like, yeah, f4 is, I think, is a good move. I mean, you are going to block the bishop a bit, but I think f4 with the intent of f5, opening up the bishop again, is a good move, right? Because, yeah, in this position, the c1 bishop is a little bit of a problem because the only safe square right now is on d2. So yeah, it would be nice to, and kind of in this position, the direction of your pawns are pointed towards the king side, right? So in general, you know, I'm sure you guys have heard this this saying that you always want to create counterplay or create action wherever your pawn chain is pointing, right? So white's pawn chain is sort of pointing towards the king side. So that's why you want to. That's where you want to try to open up. So yeah, his next move, Rubenstein's, Nimzovich's next move was f4. Yeah, that was the good move. f4, castle. And now, what would you do in this position?
I probably couldn't resist trying to drive the knight back. I'm not sure that's a good move, but I probably would.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad move because you know, it's, you know, when a piece is on your side of the board, yeah, I think it's best to kick it away as soon as possible. So yeah, I don't want this knight to linger here. I would definitely, I would definitely do a3. Although that's not what Nimzovich did.
Well, you know, actually looking at it, I'm not sure I like it anymore because if I drive it back, he goes back to c3, and then if I try and push f5, now I've got left that hole for the knight to jump into on e5.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, true.
So maybe I want to push f5 before I do that.
Okay. So you want to push f5 now? Okay. Anybody else? Any
Well,
other,
let me look at that for a minute. Does
any
that
other
work?
ideas?
So I was considering f5,
Uh-huh.
and then I was looking at bishop takes g3, and that kind of leaves the white king a bit airy.
Yeah. Yeah, so if we go f5, so you're saying bishop takes is no, you don't like that. Let's see,
Yeah, because
take.
the knight would have been useful as an attacking piece on the king side, but now you
Mhm.
don't really have any piece to continue the attack, and
Right.
your king's a bit open.
Yeah, you got these doubled pawns. It might be difficult. I mean, if white can push the pawns, that'd be nice. Maybe black can come like queen f6, h6, and prevent that pawn from coming up here. And then also now this diagonal is nice and open. So if black can get his bishop on the long diagonal, that's a nice diagonal to occupy. Right. So yeah, so we got to be careful. We don't want to give our opponent counterplay. Definitely not. So so what do you think? Any other ideas? So you have a3 and we have f5.
What do you think about queen to g4 so that you can then pop up with the knight and threaten? You're threatening on
Yeah,
g7.
yeah, queen g4 is a good. It's. I think that's an interesting idea as well. So you're putting pressure on g7. There is this discovery here, right? So and then we can just go f5, and that's a pretty nice position for white. Now the bishop has a nice open range, you know, threatening bishop h6, right? And bishop h6, and then queen queen f6 doesn't work. Why? You guys see?
Knight h5.
Okay, good. Knight h5 is actually no. Knight h5 doesn't work. Queen takes.
Yeah.
So there's another reason. Bishop h6, queen f6. Why is that no good?
Bishop g5.
Yes, bishop g5. Queen is trapped, right? After queen f6, bishop just drops back, and the queen has nowhere to go. right? So yeah, so this is a nice, very nice position. So yeah, queen g4, that was not what Nimzovich played, but queen g4 is definitely a nice possibility though, right? So anything else?
So I'm sorry, does queen g4 have a problem though? Because after knight to c2,
Uh-huh. Knight c2.
now
You
knight
want to
to
jump here?
e3.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's, I guess, okay. Well,
Yeah. I mean, he can maybe come, yeah. I mean, here, maybe something like that. Move away. And eventually this is gonna drop,
yeah, I guess it is.
right? So yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly why I don't like pieces lingering on my side of the board, because there's always possibilities for little tricks like this. So that's why, every time I see a piece on my side of the board, I'm always itching to kick it away.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's me. All right. So yes, Queen G4 is a good move. Actually, so Nimzovich played Queen F3, which is also good move as well. Putting more protection on the F4 pawn, as well as if he wants to push E5, opening up the diagonal, right, and preventing maybe B5 for a little bit, right? So that's one possibility. All right, so now Rubenstein went king to H8. Why do you think he did that?
Maybe he wanted to play f5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this bishop here is preventing f5, which immediately would be a mistake, right? Immediately, right? Because it's this nice pin. So yeah, get out of the pin first, and now he's itching to play f5. Now, what do you think is the best move? What would you do if you were white here? What would you do? Best move.
f5.
All right, f5. So here's the thing, right? These pawns are very menacing, right? Because they're fluid and they're not committing to anything, right? White could play f5, white could play e5. And you remember how I told you guys about the idea of keeping pressure, right? If you have the possibility for making an exchange, you don't always have to make the exchange. You can leave things in limbo, right? Leave things with the possibility of action, and some people just crack under pressure, right? So every pawn move again creates a weakness, right? So f5 gives black the e5 square, right? And e5 gives black the f5 and the d5 square, right? So you got to be very careful when you're pushing pawns. You don't want to you don't want to give opponent squares that they might be able to use very well. So whenever you push a pawn, it's got to be really good reason. So yeah, f5, okay. Maybe I don't know, maybe he can just lock up the position, something like that. And I mean, actually that would be a nice move for him. Why? Because now this pawn is nice and protected, right? Before, this pawn is kind of alone, right? Unprotected. So I think black would like to create a nice pawn chain right here. So that might be helping black, maybe. So anything else? What do you guys think?
What about b3?
B3.
Right now, our dark square bishop is not doing anything.
Okay, what does everyone think of B3? Good move or bad move?
I don't know, does that trap the bishop if he plays b5?
Yes, exactly. No good.
Uh.
No good. You just locked your bishop out of escape.
Then what about a3, b4, and then bishop b2?
Yeah, A3 is still, I think, a good move. Good possibility. You know, he's just gonna come back. A3, B4. Okay, that's a good plan. It's not what he played, but it's a good plan. Any other idea?
I mean, just start developing the rook and the bishop, just get them off the back rank and bishop
So-
to d2, and so the rooks communicate.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what he did. Bishop D2. Yeah, connecting the rooks. Right, very important. So bishop D2, just to connect the rooks, basically. And now the bishop is controlling these two diagonals very nicely. So F5. Okay, now what do you do now? Best move. What would you do? Any ideas?
I'm thinking about sliding the rook on f1 over to e1, so that then if there's an exchange, then you have the rook and the bishop bearing down on e6.
So the rook to F1. I think this rook is actually doing a good job of protecting the pawn, right? So this is the rook that needs to be activated, right?
Mm.
So if anything, we would bring the other rook A to E1. And yeah, because this file seems like it's going to open up soon, right? So that
Yeah.
might be a good idea. Okay, that's one idea. Yeah, so anybody else? Any idea? And actually, by the way, you see, if we went queen g4, another thing that, you know, if the pawn was not here, he could have went b5, and now once the bishop moves, now this pawn drops, right? So another function of queen f3 is providing protection for the d3 pawn.
Got it.
So now the bishop is free to move.
So I'm thinking e5, bishop e7, and then a3, knight c6.
Okay, so hold on, bishop e5, and then bishop c7. You said?
No, it has to be e7, otherwise the knight drops.
Okay, e7. All right, good, yeah. And then what?
And then a3.
And then a3.
Knight c6.
Knight c6. Yeah. Okay.
So now his
Interesting.
light square bishop doesn't really have any squares, I guess.
Right. Light square bishop is locked up. That's true. Although if he gets in here and he goes here, now he controls the diagonal very nicely, right? And this bishop can't do anything really to stop it, right? So that might be a problem.
But
right?
Can we take advantage of the fact that right now the light square bishop is the only defender of e6?
True. I mean, maybe he can bring the queen up, relieve the light square bishop, and also at the same time protect the knights, so the pawn can be pushed, and then the bishop comes here and opposes the queen, right? Right. So yeah. All right. So in the game, he played rook a to e1. That was the move. Rook a to e1, activating his last piece. And then without even being kicked away, Black went knight c6. He didn't even need to be kicked away. And now White does. Actually, you know what? Let me ask you guys. What do you think? What do you think, White? What would you do here for White?
Exchange the pawn on e5 to open up the file.
Okay, so yeah, so there's tension here, right? And so we got a few possibilities. We can exchange the pawn, we can push the pawn, or we can ignore it and do something else, right? So let's see, exchange the pawn. So if we take back, yeah, now we do have some nice control over the file. It's true. Yeah, maybe he's gonna want to do something like g6, so that he can try to contest the e file, something like that maybe. Actually, he doesn't even have to do g6 because he's only attacking it once. So yeah, maybe right now he can even do rook e8, right?
And then what about bishop f7? Let's say rook e8, bishop f7.
Rook e8, bishop f7. Let's see.
If he exchanges rooks, then we just get the file.
Actually, oh, sorry, it's White's move here. It's White's move here.
Ah.
So yeah, we took and Black took back. Now it's White's move. Yeah, White's got a nice control over the Z file, right? So that's a possibility. Okay. That's good. That's not what White played here, but that's also a good idea. Anything else?
So rook e2.
In this position?
Oh, sorry. Okay, never mind. I was thinking in that position, but I forgot that this was the actual position.
Yeah. So this is So we said taking the pawn is one possibility. So what's something else?
So what about rook e2? Depending on which file opens up, we can either double up on the e file or triple in the f file.
Right. Rook e2. Yeah, that's the move he played. Rook e2 is a very versatile move. Yeah, it does a few things actually. Yeah, you're not committing as to where the rook's going to go. It could go here. You could double on the f file. You could double on the e file. Also, creates a nice possibility of maybe activating this bishop possibly via e1 and then coming here to h4. That is a possibility, because this bishop is kind of locked in a little bit by the f pawn. So it'd be nice to get him more active. So all right, so rook e2, queen c7, so increasing pressure. So now increasing pressure onto f4. So now what would you play as White here?
Should I be worried about b5?
Oh, b5 here?
Yeah.
Should you be worried about that? I mean, bishop drops back.
Then I bring the bishop to b7.
Yeah, that
now
is
I'm getting a little counterplay against the queen.
Yeah, I mean, if you do that too soon, though, again, you're going to drop this pawn, right?
That's true.
So you gotta protect that pawn first if you want to do that. And he didn't move his queen to d7, right? He moved it to c7.
Right.
So
right.
he seems like he wants to focus his energy on f4. So yeah. So what do you think?
Push the e-pawn up to completely blunt the diagonal.
Okay, so that's one possibility. he could go maybe like bishop c5, which is a nice move to solidify control over d4 and protect his pawn. Yeah, it's a possibility. So it does open up the queen, but again, this bishop can, once we protect the pawn, this bishop can come here and take away this diagonal from the queen pretty quickly, right? So that is the one downfall about e5, and then maybe he can come eventually, maybe bring the other rook to d8 and reroute the knight to e7, and then come to d5, and then maybe even jump on e3, right? So, all right. Anything else?
It just seems like locking up the pawns on the king side isn't the way you want to go. I mean, you've got initiative on the king side, so you want to keep things mobile there. I don't know.
Okay.
What about Harry? As John Bartholomew always said.
What about what?
Harry, start pushing the H pawn and just try and increase the pressure on
the H pawn. Okay, that's interesting.
When in doubt, throw the H pawn down the board and see if something good happens.
I think they call that a can opener, right? You heard that term? Try to open up the king side with the H pawn. Okay. Throw the pawn.
I know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Seems a little loosening, but what the hell?
Anybody else? Another idea? So I think Karthik, I think you mentioned taking, somebody who mentioned taking on f5 before. That's the move that he chose here, and probably because he's afraid of, he doesn't want to open up the file for black, so he doesn't want black to capture first, so that he's putting pressure on the f pawn. He wants to close down this file for black's f8 rook, right? So he takes here, takes back, and now this file is closed for the black rook, right? Now it's opened up for the white rook on the E file, right? So very nice control over the E file now. Okay, so now let's look at this position. This is a very how would you evaluate this position right now? Who do you think has a stronger position?
Oh, white.
Why do you say that?
His pieces are all developed and coordinated. Black's kind of got his bishop kind of locked on, right? He has to make several moves to free his bishop on c8. His rooks can't communicate.
Yeah, rooks are not connected yet. Yeah. Anything else? Why else?
But black does have b5 and then bishop b7, so it comes with tempo.
Right.
So I don't know.
So maybe if he goes bishop b5, we would go like bishop d5, right?
Yeah.
And then bishop b7.
Yeah, and then bishop b7. Yeah. So yeah, it's I mean it's still not that clear on the queen side. So what about the king side? Who's got a stronger position on the king side? What do you think?
Well, I think white does.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, his pieces are all developed and on the king side. Black doesn't have a lot of defenders on the king side.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look at this bishop. This bishop is very powerful. Now the diagonal's open. This king, the g8 is taken away from the king. F's controlling all of these squares outright. So this bishop has no competition. It's not being challenged by anything, right? Complete control over the a2 to g8 diagonal, right? The rook controls the e file. So yeah, white has a very comfortable position here. So so in this position, white to move, what do you think is the best move for white here?
Well, I mean, the brute force thing now that the E file is open would be to bring that other rook over to E1 now. I mean, now it seems clear you'd much rather have them doubled there.
True. Okay, that's a good. Yeah, that's not a bad move. It's a good move, doubling the rooks on the open file. Okay. Anything else? Any idea? You guys want a hint?
Queen H5.
Queen H5. Let's see here. Okay. Maybe you can just be kicked away by G6.
You slide to the H6 square,
H6.
and then if you can get rid of the
Maybe
F.
bring the queen over. And again, if we trade now, that's benefiting black, right? Because you know, yeah, black is slightly more cramped, slightly. You know, given the fact that this bishop's so dominating, but yeah, any trades would definitely help black. So I don't think he would want to trade. So what else?
Okay, so here's a crazy move.
Mhm.
Knight H1.
Aha. Why knight H1?
I want to bring the queen and the rooks to the G and H files.
Okay, so knight
So
H1.
knight H1, queen H3, rook F3, and so on.
Okay, so as you can see by my arrows, knight H1 is the correct answer, but not for the reason that you said. So in this position, if you look at all of white's pieces, which is the worst place, the one that's doing nothing really, or not much. I mean, the rook can easily be activated here. Queen can easily be activated. Bishop's pretty active. This bishop is definitely active. This knight is the only one that's not really doing anything right here. Not really, could be improved, right? And if you could place this knight, okay, so envision this. If you can place this knight anywhere on the board, where would you want to place it? What would be the ideal square to place this knight?
G5 looks good.
Yeah, G5, right? In combination with the bishop is a beautiful attack right there. Just the two minor pieces, right? Bishops are already dominating. In addition with the knight, in addition to the queen coming in and starting mate threats, right? So this knight badly needs to be improved. So knight H1 was given as a double exclamation point. Brilliant move. because what's the first thing that we're told, you know, when you're learning chess is never put your knights in the corner, right? And you have top grandmasters here playing a move like knight H1, and you know, of course, every rule has to be broken at some point, or there's always exceptions to every rule, right? So knight H1 it is. Beautiful move. So yeah, then black continues bishop D7, connecting the rooks. And now what would you do, white?
Knight F2.
Yeah, knight F2, continue. Knight F2, nice. Right, heading to G5. All right, rook A to E8. Now the E file is contested. So now what would you do?
Rook Fe1.
Yeah. So you know when you have a plan, you can proceed towards the plan, but you always have to be cognizant of what your opponent's doing as well. You can't blindly follow your plan, right? So if you continue with knight H3, then what would be black's best move here?
I'll just take on E2.
Yeah, take.
Followed by rook E8.
Yeah, now black controls the E file, right? So we don't want that. We don't want to cede control of the file. So, take a moment to reinforce your rook with the other rook, right? And now trades rooks. Okay. So now, okay, now in this position, what do you think? What What do you think best move is for black here, by the way? What do you think? What would you say best move is for black?
So what about rook e8?
Okay, rook e8. So, what would you do for white? Capture, I assume, right?
Well, white doesn't have to capture, but
Doesn't have to.
at least this way, black he's still fighting over the open file.
Right. So yeah, rook e8 is no good. Why is it no good?
If he takes, then bishop takes, and then the queen comes to d5, that looks a little awkward, doesn't it?
Yes, rook takes e8, bishop takes e8, queen d5. Very powerful. Why is that very powerful?
Well, he's
Combination with the
threatening
bishop.
mate. The knight has to come back to cover the mate on g8, and then he picks up that pawn.
Exactly. Yeah. Immediate mate threat on g8. The only logical defense, the best defense, is knight e7.
Oh wait, no, that pawn is protected. Yeah.
And now queen takes
Yeah.
d4. Now queen takes d4. Now, thankfully, this knight is on f2, because if the knight was not on f2, queen takes d4 would not be possible. Why?
Bishop c5.
Yeah, bishop c5 winning the queen, right?
Yeah.
So thankfully, the knight is on f2. So so as a result of that, we pick up this very important d pawn, and now white's game is even more powerful, and the bishop is ready to come onto c3 and put even more pressure on the king side, right? So yeah, rook e8, no good, drops the pawn. So what do you think is a better move for black here?
What about knight e7?
Knight e7. Let's see here.
Followed by bishop c6 at some point, maybe.
Let's see. Maybe I'll just continue with the plan. All right, bishop c6, and then we bring the queen here, and the knight's coming here, and mate threats are following. Right.
Mm,
So yeah. What else?
Bishop e8.
Bishop e8.
So,
So
it can stay.
to prevent h5, right? Queen h5.
Yeah, and it can just land on g6, and it'll be
Mhm.
useful.
Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I'd say continue here. And now with the knight on h3, now he's threatening some combination of maybe sacrificing the exchange and then coming to h5 with a double threat.
But the bishop can go to g6.
Well, I'm saying if okay, so you're saying instead of so move the bishop to g6, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Knight comes here, and pretty nice position for white here. Very powerful knight. Queen maybe can come here. Threatening a fork here. So a lot of threats. Anything else? What else can black do here?
Well, it's probably wrong, but I mean, you could play h6 to try and take away g5 from the knight.
Okay.
But you can wait a turn for that too. So I don't know if I'd hurry to weaken my king side further.
I think if h6, maybe bring the knight again, and now, yeah, the queen's still gonna come here, and still
Oh,
this is a
yeah,
threat
that's true. That's right. That's worse.
because of the pin, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, though, you probably have a sack and exchange, right? Because the bishop can come to e8.
Right. Yeah. Probably that would be worth it. Yeah, to do that.
Well, actually, no. The bishop e8 would have been bad because after rook takes, the queen will take.
Oh, if the queen's here, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So think about this. The knight is headed towards which square?
h3 and then g5.
Yeah, so g5. So basically what black wants to do is not let him get there, or if he does get there, to trade the bishop, trade the knight. So what do you think he could do to trade the knight if he does get there?
Well, a bishop to e7, I suppose.
Okay, bishop e7, you could do that. It's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
You know, the rook is eyeing the bishop. So
Knight to d8 followed
Yeah.
by knight f7.
yeah, knight d8, knight f7 seems a little bit more natural, right?
Yeah.
To trade the knight if he should ever come to g5. So yeah, that's what he played, knight d8. Yeah, because he doesn't want the knight to get there unchallenged. Okay, knight h3. Okay, and what would you say? What would you say best move for black here? What would you say?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you'd want to play bishop to c6, but the problem is that just pushes the queen where she wants to go anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you could try knight f7 now, because if you wait knight g5, now you can't play knight f7 anymore, right?
Oh,
So
that's true. Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
that's a possibility. In the game, Rubenstein played bishop c6 to activate a bishop, even though, yeah, like you said, he's gonna push the queen to where she wants to go anyway, right? So yeah, okay. Queen h5, and now
So just a quick question there.
yeah.
So I was looking at knight f7, but if white really wants to get his knight to g5, he could just capture that knight now, and then there's
That's
nothing
true.
to challenge.
That's true. I mean, you take, go here, maybe here, something like that, maybe. Right?
Well, you sure gave up a good bishop for a bad knight.
Right. You gave up a really nice
Mm.
bishop, right? So that was the cost for that. And there's not even there's no mate threat either, because he's got the back rank covered pretty nicely, you know. So, maybe he does something like this, and now black's pretty comfortable here, right? So yeah, that is a very strong bishop to give up for that knight. So he played bishop c6, queen h5.
So sorry again.
Go ahead.
But okay, so if we're not gonna give it up, then that means, what are we gonna do with our knight then? If it can't come to g5.
Oh, this knight.
No. So if you instead of bishop c6, let's say black plays knight f7.
Okay.
So at this point, would we still want to continue with knight g5 and get that
Yeah.
knight exchanged?
Yeah, I think so. Well, then this pawn drops, right? You can't do that
Right.
just yet. But yeah, I mean, black would love to exchange for this knight, right? Because this is this is going to be a very powerful knight in combination with the queen. Queen and knight are a very powerful combination, especially for mating threats. So yeah, trading them would be a good idea. So all right, so bishop c6, queen h5, and now what do you guys think best move is for black here? So the queen's looking very menacing right here, right?
She
A
is.
lot of control. Knight's ready to jump here. Is there anything that that black can do to prevent that? Because now the threats are coming so naturally out of this position.
Knight f7.
Knight f7. All right.
And maybe preparing bishop e8.
This drops this pawn. Right. Okay. Possibility.
Well, if white takes on f5, do we have knight e5?
95.
And then getting rid of the light square bishop.
Right. All right. It's a possibility. Yeah, possibility. Here, black played g6. So let me ask you guys, what is wrong with h6?
We can still play knight g5.
Yeah, you still play knight g5. And what is the threat that white has in this position? White has a nice threat here.
Queen g6.
Yeah, queen g6. Beautiful move. So queen g6 threatening mate on h7. And if the pawn takes a knight, what does white
Queen
do?
h5.
Queen h5 is mate. Yeah. Very nice. Cardor mate or Anastasia's mate. Beautiful. Side of the board. So yeah. h6 is no good. h6 is impotent. Useless. So queen. Yeah, so queen. So after g5, we have queen h4. King comes to g7. Okay, so now, what do you think? Actually, now we got a few minutes left, but I want to show you the maneuvers that Nimzovich does is very beautiful. So in this position, he takes a moment to attack some weaknesses. Right, so right here, the weakness is the d5 pawn, d4 pawn. Right, so he takes a moment, queen f2, and he gives us an exclamation mark. The author gives us an exclamation mark as being a strong move. So queen f2, bishop c5, and now using the fact that the bishop needs to be there because black does not want to drop this pawn. This is a very pivotal pawn, right? So takes a moment to attack the bishop right here, and now bishop b6 to continue protecting the d4 pawn. And now effectively this bishop is out of play now. This bishop is too far away from the king side to protect. So basically now black is functioning minus one bishop, which is pretty beautiful. So that was a very nice maneuver there. So after Nimzovich does that, he disposes of this bishop without even having to trap it or take it. Now he brings the queen back. He's like, all right, I'm done. Let me bring the queen back. Queen h4 with a nice threat of winning the queen immediately. Rook e7 threat. Right, so we have rook e8, and now he goes rook to e5 exclamation mark. Wow, why does he do that move? What do you think? Why does he do that move? What if, can you guys see what happens if takes and takes? What can
h6 is mate.
Well, if black takes the pawn, it won't be mate.
Oh wait, no, not mate.
Right?
There's the f6.
Yeah, it won't be
f6
mate.
and h8.
But actually, it's gonna be. Let's see. It's gonna be mate in after that. So after takes, it's gonna be mate in what? 3 moves. 1, 2, 3. Everybody see it? Or should I move the pieces? Takes. Now where's the mate in 3?
Queen h6, king f6, bishop g5.
Okay,
king
okay,
f7.
good. Actually, you know what? You're right. That's even quicker. Sorry, my fault. My mistake. It's a mate in 2. You're right. I didn't even consider that one. But yeah, queen h6, king f6, bishop g5 is mate as well. I mean, the mate I saw was queen f8, knight blocks mate. So yeah, very nice. So yeah, the rook, the pawn cannot be taken. So he goes knight f7. Knight f7. Let's go back here. Okay, so he captures the knight. Takes. Ooh, nice double threat. Attacking the queen and threatening on h7. Okay, queen drops back. Rook takes, bishop takes, and now what do you think is a nice? What's a good move here for white? What do you think? Good move for white.
So we could take on h7 with a knight and then followed by queen e7. So we'll get back our piece. And we effectively win a
Queen takes. Queen
e7.
here. Bishop blocks.
Ah.
All right. No. So the beautiful thing about this game, aside from this knight h1 maneuver, is also this queen maneuver here. This queen is shifting back and forth on the e1 to h4 diagonal, based on what's happening in the game. Right, it comes to f2, or first, first it goes to h4, then it comes to f2, goes back to h4. now he's going to go to e1, sorry. And now he takes control over the e file and has a threat here, a nice threat of invading on e7, right? So now bishop c6. Okay, so now what do you guys think? So now he invades, right? Invades, queen e7 check. So king h6 would be a mistake. Why?
Knight f7, king h5, queen e2.
Queen e2, yeah, or just mate here, right? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, king h8, and now a nice move here. What do you think?
Knight f7 again.
Okay, so knight f7. All right. I mean, what's the follow up though? Actually, this is this actually ends in a win of a piece, so it's kind of nice little maneuver here. So knight e5 check, king h1, right? Again here, yeah, he could go to e6, but let's say he goes to king h8, knight takes, and now how do you what's the winning continuation here?
Queen e5 and then queen b8.
Yeah, pick up the bishop, right? Take, and nice. Winning the nice bishop. Good. So b5 opens up. b5 is the next move after king h8 it's a clearance sacrifice to open up the bishop to enter the game through this diagonal, right? So yeah, here actually black didn't even move the bishop, or didn't even take this pawn, because he saw that the entrance of this bishop would be pretty devastating. Because look at this. In this position, the bishop just comes here, and now game over, right? Game over completely. So in this position, black chose to give up the piece. Chose to give up the piece. He saw the end was near. So let's see what happens. Let's see real quick what happens if he took. All right. So here's a possible continuation. Knight e6, h5, bishop b4, bishop d5, check, king up, check, and check, and mate is soon forced to give up the queen, and mate is on the next move. Yeah. So yeah, that's one possible winning continuation. So the pawn on b5 is immune. This bishop will enter the game with devastating effect. So queen g7, exchange pieces. He wins a piece outright. And now it's pretty much a matter of technique. So yeah. Now he just dominates with his minor pieces. Yeah. And that's it. Game over. Resigned. How'd you guys like that game? Any questions? I'm sure there's no questions at all, right, about that game?
Yeah. How do we do that?
How do you do that, right? Right. Just make sure you write a book on chess philosophy, and maybe you can play a game like that too.
There you
go. So yeah. So this is one example of how to think and organize and plan throughout the game. It's no real specific tactics in this game, nothing really flashy, but just slow, methodical control over the board, and eventually leads to a 1 game. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
So again, in this game, was there a point where Black could have reined in things, or do you think at what point Black started losing the initiative and things started going bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know. You know, these kinds of games, it's just so hard to say. I don't know. Do you guys see a specific moment? It's hard for me to see a specific moment.
I suppose he could have played b5 and gotten his bishop out quickly.
Maybe if he really struggled to free this bishop, instead of pushing the f pawn, if he struggled to free the bishop and bring the bishop on b7, then things might have turned out differently, because then he pushes f5 and he can't take for the moment, right? Because it's pinned. So things might have turned out differently there. Or maybe he goes bishop c6 and tries to bring the knight here, cause some problems that way, maybe. But yeah, this bishop, didn't really enter the game, right? Much. It basically stayed back here most of the time. So maybe if he did bring the bishop on the light square diagonal, that might have changed things as well. So yeah, very nice, awesome. So is this the type of thing that you guys want to do next week? A deep analysis of 1 game. This is helpful. What do you guys think?
Kind of like a mix of both approaches.
So what are you guys thinking about for next week? Any requests? Want to go over a specific concept like queen sacrifice, pawn storm, Zugzwang, Zwiesenzug, king hunts?
What about something? I mean, maybe it sounds a little general, but like material imbalances.
Material imbalances.
Yeah. So my thinking is that I think players at our level for the group, like, we tend to be really overly focused on just, this loses a pawn, or then I give up a piece for 2 pawns, and then you kind of just stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
But you notice then, of course, in the games of higher level players, that if there's a good reason to say give up a pawn, or temporarily give up material, or on exchange sacrifice, or whatever the case may be, if it gives you some kind of initiative or a more dynamic position that you could still benefit from.
So maybe a good game on featuring an exchange sacrifice, like a positional exchange sacrifice, something like that.
Yeah, but maybe not Petrosian, because his games are so kind of a slog.
Yeah, he's the master of position of.
It's good, but it's just, I think it's so hard to mimic that kind of style that he has.
I love it.
I kind of agree with that, in the sense that, so seeing a game like this, which kind of gives us an overall idea of how to think about the position and how to form plans. Mixed with classes where we just kind of focus on one particular concept, like say, giving up material for some other kind of advantage, like you mentioned. So that would be like one concept. So yeah, I think a mix of these two seems nice.
Okay, so you want me to focus on the specific concept next time rather than an entire game, right? We'll try that next time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll try that. Cool. All right. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something. I will email this to you all when I upload it. I think Robert Klein, I think you're the only one on video. So I just want to make sure it's okay that that I upload this to YouTube, but it's not public. It's just unlisted. So like people can't search it. Because I got, I did this in the other class, and one person's like, I don't want to be on YouTube. So do you have any problem with that, Robert?
I don't care.
All right, cool. All right, cool. All right.
People get offended by looking at my ugly mug. That's their problem.
Right. So, all right, cool. Just I was just surprised to hear that because I never got a complaint about somebody, having their face on YouTube. All right, cool. So yeah, so we'll see you all next week, and we'll work on a specific concept. All right. So
Thanks,
hope you guys have a wonderful week.
So long.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
You too.
Take care.